Have you ever felt like some people only notice you when they think you're vulnerable? When someone wants to humiliate you, they won't come with open insults. They'll strike subtly, aiming to shake your confidence while pretending it's just a harmless joke. But what if I told you, the moment you refuse to react the way they expect, you start gaining a level of respect they never saw coming? It's like reaching out to shake someone's hand, only to realize too late they were hiding a thorn in their palm. The gesture looks friendly, even welcoming, but when you trust it, it leaves you bleeding. That's how humiliation often begins, not with open hostility, but with a false sense of safety. They act polite, they laugh with you, they lower your defenses, just so the sting will cut deeper when it comes. Because while they're betting on your collapse, you have a choice. Prove them right by reacting emotionally, or surprise them by standing taller than ever. And when you stay calm, composed, and unshaken, that's when their plan backfires, and your respect begins to grow silently but powerfully. So, how do you turn humiliation into strength without saying a word? Stick with me until the end, because the final move we'll uncover could change everything. Let's get started. Number 1. Respond with calm, not chaos. Let's talk about one of the hardest moments to handle, when someone humiliates you and every fiber of your being wants to lash out. It's almost instinctive, the rush of anger, the urge to defend yourself, to hurt them back with sharper words or louder actions. But here's the real truth. The moment you react with chaos, you hand over your power. You step into the trap they've set. Because that's what rude people want. They want you flustered, emotional, off balance. They win when you lose control. Here's the truth. The real strength lies not in outshouting them, but in outlasting them, with calmness. When you stay composed in the face of disrespect, you send a message louder than any angry words ever could. You are beneath my energy. Your calmness shows you are beyond their reach. It turns their attempt to humiliate you into their own embarrassment, because nothing unsettles a rude person more than being completely ignored, completely unfazed. In that moment, you gain something deeper than a cheap comeback. You earn silent respect, not just from them, but from everyone who witnesses how you carry yourself. This is where Stoic wisdom lights the path. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." And there's so much power packed into that one sentence. It's tempting to stoop to their level, to meet rudeness with rudeness. But when you choose calmness instead, you prove that your dignity isn't up for negotiation. You show that no one, not even someone trying to humiliate you, can pull you out of your character unless you allow it. And that's the kind of strength that stays with people long after the moment has passed. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Emily, was once publicly humiliated during a team meeting by a jealous co-worker. This co-worker openly criticized her ideas in a way that was meant to make her look foolish. Emily could have snapped back. She could have raised her voice or tried to embarrass them in return. But she didn't. She took a breath, kept her posture strong, and simply replied, "Thank you for your perspective." Then she calmly continued with her presentation, completely unshaken. After the meeting, something amazing happened. People approached Emily privately, telling her how much they admired her grace. Meanwhile, the co-worker looked petty and bitter. Emily didn't just win the room, she owned it without ever lowering herself. So, how do you master this level of calm? First, train yourself to pause before reacting. Take a breath and remember, their behavior is a reflection of them, not you. Second, commit to protecting your energy. Don't let someone's moment of disrespect steal your peace. And finally, rise above for yourself, not for them. Their humiliation loses power the moment you refuse to carry it. At the end of the day, the world watches how you handle disrespect. When you respond with calm, not chaos, you show true mastery, not over them, but over yourself. And that is a power they can never take away. Number 2, let your silence speak. Let's talk about one of the most underrated but powerful responses, letting your silence do the talking. When someone tries to humiliate you, your first instinct might be to defend yourself, to argue back, to prove them wrong. It feels like if you don't say something, they'll win somehow. But here's the real truth. When you argue with someone who is acting petty or foolish, you lower yourself to their level. You validate their behavior by engaging with it. And in the end, nobody wins. You just exhaust your own dignity trying to wrestle with someone who isn't even operating from a place of respect. Here's the truth. Arguing with a fool only pulls you into their chaos. But silence is powerful. When you stay silent, when you refuse to react, you expose their pettiness without ever saying a word. You hold a mirror up to them, showing everyone exactly who they are without tarnishing your own character. Silence doesn't make you weak, it makes you untouchable. It shows that their attempts to provoke you aren't even worth your energy. This is where Stoic wisdom shines. Seneca once said, "Silence is a lesson learned through life's many sufferings." And he was right. Silence isn't just about holding your tongue. It's about mastering your emotions, refusing to let anger, pride, or insecurity drag you into battles that don't deserve your presence. It's about valuing your peace more than your ego. And when you choose silence, you send a message louder than any argument could. You don't have the power to disturb my inner world. Let me share a story. A guy I know, let's call him Brian, was once put on the spot during a company event by someone who clearly wanted to embarrass him. The person made a sarcastic comment about Brian's recent promotion, hoping to get a laugh at his expense. Everyone turned to see how Brian would react. He could have clapped back with an insult. He could have defended himself. But instead, Brian just smiled slightly, said nothing, and kept his composure. The room shifted. Suddenly, it wasn't Brian who looked foolish. It was the guy who made the comment. Brian's silence made the insult echo louder than any comeback ever could have. And after that, people respected Brian even more, not just for what he said, but for what he didn't say. So how do you master the art of letting silence speak? First, trust that you don't need to defend your worth. The right people can see the truth without you explaining it. Second, stay grounded. Feel the urge to react and then rise above it. And finally, remember that silence is never empty. It's filled with strength, dignity, and unshakable self-respect. At the end of the day, your silence is your shield. When you refuse to engage with pettiness, you show the world and yourself that you're operating on a different level. And that kind of strength speaks volumes. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights. Number 3, carry yourself with unshakable dignity. Let's talk about one of the most powerful ways to reclaim your respect after humiliation. Carrying yourself with unshakable dignity. When someone tries to embarrass you, the damage isn't in their words, it's in how you respond. Most people crumble. They shrink, get defensive, or let anger twist their face. But if you want to truly gain respect, you don't let anyone shake your core. You stand tall, you keep your head high, you let your body, your tone, your very presence say everything you need to say. My worth is not up for negotiation. Here's the truth. Even after humiliation, your posture, your tone, and your steady gaze can remind the world and yourself that your value remains untouched. People may not remember the insults thrown at you, but they will never forget the way you carried yourself in that moment. Your dignity becomes your armor, and no matter how loudly someone tries to tear you down, your calm strength will always echo louder. This is where ancient wisdom lights the way. Aristotle once said, "Dignity does not consist in possessing honors, but in deserving them." Think about that. Dignity isn't about the titles you hold, the praise you collect, or the status you chase. True dignity is about being honorable, even when no one is watching, or worse, when everyone is watching you get torn apart. It's easy to act composed when you're being celebrated. It's another thing entirely to stand tall when you're being attacked. That's where real strength is born. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Jessica, was once unfairly criticized during a public seminar. The speaker, perhaps feeling threatened by her quiet confidence, tried to make a sarcastic joke at her expense in front of everyone. All eyes turned to Jessica, waiting for her to either lash out or shrink back. But she did neither. Jessica simply smiled, kept her shoulders squared, and remained silent. She didn't flinch. She didn't argue. She didn't give away a single ounce of her power. And slowly, the laughter died. The mood in the room shifted. Without saying a word, Jessica made it clear, "You cannot define me." Afterward, several people came up to her, not to talk about the insult, but to admire the way she had handled it, with grace that silenced everyone. So how do you carry yourself with unshakable dignity? First, control your body language. Keep your posture strong, your face calm, your gaze steady. Second, speak less, but speak with certainty when you do. Let your tone reflect confidence, not defensiveness. And finally, remember that your self-respect isn't something anyone else can give you or take away. At the end of the day, true power doesn't come from fighting insults. It comes from showing that you're above them. Carry yourself like someone whose worth is non-negotiable, because it is. Number 4, turn pain into power. Let's talk about one of the most important choices you face after being humiliated, turning your pain into power. When someone tries to embarrass you, it stings. It's easy to feel small, to doubt yourself, to get trapped replaying the moment over and over. But here's the truth. That sting isn't meant to break you. It's meant to build you. It's raw energy, and you get to decide whether you let it drain you or drive you. Here's the truth. When you rise higher, the insult shrinks into irrelevance. The more you focus on your growth, your evolution, your next move, the smaller their words become in the grand scheme of your life. Pain, if used correctly, becomes fuel. It sharpens your focus. It reminds you who you are. And most importantly, it teaches you resilience. The kind of strength that can't be faked. The kind that only hardship can create. This is where Stoic wisdom lifts us higher. Seneca once said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Think about that for a moment. Without friction, a gem stays rough, unremarkable. Without trials, a human being remains untested, unrefined. The painful moments, the insults, the humiliations, the challenges, these are the fires that forge real character. If you let them, they'll polish you into someone stronger, wiser, and far more powerful than you were before. Let me share a story. A guy I know, let's call him Tyler, was publicly ridiculed by a former mentor when he decided to start his own business. The comments were brutal, and worse, they were made in front of people Tyler respected. He could have let the shame stop him. He could have shrunk back into safety. But Tyler made a different choice. He used the sting of those words as fuel. Every late night he worked, every obstacle he overcame, he remembered that moment. Not to dwell in pain, but to channel it. Fast forward 2 years, and Tyler's business was thriving. The same people who once laughed at him now looked up to him. The insult that once felt huge had become irrelevant, lost in the shadow of everything he had built. So how do you turn pain into power? First, let yourself feel it, but don't stay there. Pain is a signal, not a sentence. Second, channel that energy into action. Let your work, your growth, your resilience be the loudest response. And finally, trust that every moment of friction is polishing you into something greater. At the end of the day, you are not defined by the insult. You are defined by what you do after it. Use the pain, build your power, and rise so high that the memory of their words can't even reach you. If you've watched the video this far, don't forget to leave a comment with a thank God and give it a like if you enjoyed the content. Your support means a lot and motivates me to keep creating more interesting videos. I hope you find inspiration in them and that we continue learning together. Thank you for your support. Number 5. Refuse to chase validation. Let's talk about one of the easiest traps to fall into after being humiliated: chasing validation. After someone tries to tear you down, it's natural to want to rebuild your image. You want people to know the truth about you. You want to prove your worth, to show everyone you're still valuable. But here's the hard truth. The more you seek approval after humiliation, the weaker you appear. It sends the message that your value depends on what others think. And nothing drains your power faster than needing the crowd's applause to feel whole again. Here's the truth. Stay centered and let your value be self-evident, not negotiated. True respect is earned through calm confidence, not desperate explanations. You don't have to run around trying to convince anyone of your worth. You show it by living it, by remaining composed, by refusing to let someone else's moment of disrespect define who you are. Validation that's chased is validation that's cheap, but validation that's earned through strength, resilience, and quiet dignity lasts far longer. This is where Stoic wisdom shines. Marcus Aurelius once said, "He who is content with himself has little need for the approval of others." Real contentment, real strength comes from within. It's the quiet certainty that you are enough, no matter who recognizes it. When you anchor your self-worth internally, outside opinions lose their power. Their praise doesn't inflate you, their insults don't crush you. You become steady, grounded, untouchable. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Rachel, was publicly belittled by a supervisor during a big company event. At first, she felt the familiar urge to prove herself, to defend her skills to everyone who might have heard the comment. But she caught herself. Instead of scrambling for validation, Rachel stayed focused on her work. She didn't chase anyone's approval. She didn't try to fix her reputation. Instead, she let her consistent excellence, her calm professionalism, and her undeniable results speak for her. Over time, the same people who had witnessed her being humiliated began to admire her even more. Not because she pleaded for it, but because she demonstrated it without words. So how do you refuse to chase validation? First, affirm your own worth internally. Remind yourself that their opinion does not change your value. Second, double down on your excellence. Focus on what you can control: your character, your work, your attitude. And finally, trust that real respect grows quietly over time, not through desperate explanations. At the end of the day, you don't need to chase validation. You need to embody it. Let your steady strength show the world exactly who you are, without a single word of defense. Number 6. Stand by your principles. Let's talk about one of the greatest tests you'll ever face after being humiliated: the temptation to compromise your values just to save face. When someone attacks your character, your instinct might be to bend, to adjust, to somehow fix the situation quickly. Maybe you think if you soften your stance, apologize for things you didn't do, or become someone you're not, you'll win back approval. But here's the truth. The moment you compromise your principles to regain favor, you lose something far more important than pride. You lose your integrity. Here's the truth. True respect comes when you uphold your integrity even when it's hardest. Anyone can stick to their values when life is easy. But when you're under pressure, when you're doubted, mocked, or criticized, that's when your true character is revealed. If you abandon what you stand for just to smooth things over, people might accept you temporarily. But deep down, they'll sense that you can be broken, and the respect you fought so hard to reclaim will quietly slip away. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes your anchor. Epictetus once said, "Hold fast to what is right, even if the whole world stands against you." It's easy to stand for something when everyone claps for you. It's much harder when you're standing alone, but that's when it matters most. Upholding your principles, especially in the face of humiliation, shows a strength that words can't capture. It shows you're not just performing for approval. You're living by a code that is bigger than any insult, bigger than any moment of shame. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Brandon, once faced intense criticism at work after refusing to cover up a mistake that wasn't his fault. The easy option was to stay silent, protect his image, and let someone else take the fall. Many encouraged him to do just that. But Brandon refused. He calmly stood by his principles, owned his part, and stayed honest, even when it made him look bad in the short term. It wasn't easy. He faced backlash. But over time, people saw the truth. His consistency, his integrity, spoke louder than the noise. Brandon didn't just regain respect. He earned a reputation for being someone whose word could be trusted, no matter the cost. So how do you stand by your principles? First, define them clearly for yourself. Know what you believe before the pressure comes. Second, be willing to endure discomfort. Integrity sometimes demands sacrifice. And finally, trust that real respect is built slowly through consistent action, not quick victories. At the end of the day, respect rooted in integrity will always outlast the momentary comfort of compromise. Stand tall, stay true, and let the world adjust to you, not the other way around. If you believe this video can help others, give it a like. It helps the YouTube algorithm show it to more people. And don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content coming your way. Share your thoughts in the comments. I will definitely reply. Number 7. Let time and character defend you. Let's talk about one of the most powerful lessons you can learn after being humiliated. You don't need to fight every small battle. When someone attacks you, spreads rumors, or tries to tarnish your reputation, Your first impulse might be to rush into defense mode, to set the record straight, to make sure everyone knows the truth right now. But here's the reality. The loudest defense is often the weakest one. True strength doesn't panic. True character doesn't scramble. Here's the truth. Over time, your strength, grace, and wisdom will tell the real story. You don't have to argue. You don't have to plead your case. You simply have to keep living in a way that makes the lies, the insults, the petty attacks irrelevant. Because while gossip fades, while cheap shots lose their audience, your character remains. The person who stands firm, who walks with quiet confidence through storms of disrespect, that's the person others remember and admire in the end. This is where Stoic wisdom feels like a shield around you. Seneca once said, "Time discovers truth." You don't have to rush. You don't have to scramble for approval. You don't have to explain yourself to people who are determined not to understand. All you need is patience and the unshakable confidence that, given enough time, the truth about who you are will shine through. Lies are fast. Truth is slow, but it always wins the race. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Lauren, was once falsely accused of sabotaging a project at work. The accusation spread quickly, fueled by jealousy and office politics. Lauren's first instinct was to fight back, to call meetings, to confront everyone, but she didn't. Instead, she stayed calm. She kept doing excellent work. She stayed professional. She refused to lower herself to drama. And over time, the truth came out. Her consistent character made the lies fall apart on their own. Those who had doubted her were now the ones embarrassed. Lauren didn't just clear her name, she elevated her reputation simply by letting time and character defend her. So how do you trust time to defend you? First, resist the urge for immediate vindication. Not everything needs a public response. Second, double down on your character. Stay consistent, stay professional, stay graceful. And finally, trust that truth and time are stronger than any rumor or insult. At the end of the day, your reputation isn't built in the heat of a single moment. It's built in the quiet consistency of who you are over time. Let others waste their energy on battles. You'll let time and character win the war.
If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights.